despot seal is on thy shore. Maryland, my Maryland, his torch is at thy temple door. Maryland, my Maryland, avenge the patriotic gore that flecked the streets of Baltimore, and be the battle queen of yore. Maryland, my Maryland. It was in April of 1861 that some of the hostilities that were to become the American Civil War were starting to bubble on the surface, especially in the state of Maryland. You see, what happened was Abraham Lincoln and the federal government were afraid that Virginia was going to secede from the Union. And they were right. And it might have actually occurred faster than it would have if it hadn't been for the fact that Abraham Lincoln decided to bring troops to Virginia and to try and keep Virginia from withdrawing from the Union. Massachusetts and Pennsylvania troops were two of the first states to actually send troops down south toward Virginia. But as soon as they got to Maryland, they realized that, well, the Maryland people did not like these other states' troops passing through their town, particularly Baltimore. And so as the troops started to come into town by means of the President Street station, there was no connection that a steam locomotive could draw cars across to get to what was the Camden station of the Washington branch of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. In fact, the cars had to be towed down Pratt Street by horse teams, one at a time, and they kept them full of troops. Well, they tried to get some cars through, and then one of the cars was stopped. A riot had broken out, and some people in a mob had gotten very angry about these troops coming through their streets. They began to throw brickbats and other things at the car, and the teamster who was actually taking the railroad car through the streets decided to take his horses and put them on the other side of the car and simply withdraw from the mob and go back to President Street Station. Well, the colonel who was in charge of the Massachusetts troops who were trapped on that car decided to offload the troops from the car, load their weapons, fix their bayonets, and begin to do the double quick time down Pratt Street to try and make an end run, so to speak, going down to the Camden station of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. Well, somewhere down in the middle of that run, somebody threw a brickbat, somebody got hurt, somebody shot guns, and differing accounts say how many people were killed and how many people were injured, but we can certainly say that it was significant enough that down in Louisiana, where there was a teacher who was teaching English literacy classes over at the Poydras College in Point Coupé, Louisiana, heard about the death of his good friend in these what became known as the Pratt Street riots, and he decided that he would write a tune, or rather started off as a poem saying Maryland was the original name of it. I don't think he actually had a melody in mind at first, but the poem was published in the New Orleans Bee. It was one of the local newspapers in New Orleans. And a copy of that poem got up to Baltimore, Maryland, where it was decided that, it was very, very similar to O Tannenbaum or O Christmas Tree. They simply changed the title and made it Maryland, My Maryland. It actually has a rambling set of verses that recount the history of the patriotism of the state of Maryland and what many people in the history of Maryland had done as heroes, and said that it was time for Maryland to stand up for herself again and fight for freedom. And by doing that, they would prevent other troops from being brought through their city. Well, it caused General Butler to be brought into Maryland, and General Benjamin Butler, who was the scourge of New Orleans, as a United States Army general, clamped down on Annapolis and Baltimore pretty fast, preventing the secession of Maryland from the Union. However, the song Maryland by Maryland became one of the fighting songs of the Confederate States forces and was well played by many bands and sung by many troops.